Why are you always so short on salvage in Black Ops 7 Zombies? Did Treyarch change how much salvage you earn? Do suppressors help with salvage gain anymore? And how does all of this compare to Black Ops 6? Well, I've done the tests, I've got the stats and the graphs, all in an effort to figure out how salvage actually works. As always with these analytical videos, be sure to use the chapters below to skip to whatever section you're most interested in, or jump straight to the end for the final results. For this test, I decided to run 3 games with a weapon without a suppressor, and then 3 games with a weapon with a suppressor. So we have 6 total games to look at, and in each of those games, I went all the way to round 35. And instead of using the same weapon, I did use 3 different weapons, just because it's a beta, I still want to have fun and use different weapons and see how they all act. But with the results that we got, I don't think that was an issue, even though it might be bad science. And after several hours of gameplay, I have these charts. I know it's a lot of numbers, so let me walk you through what these mean. Obviously, we have our rounds all the way to 35. We have our salvage total, which is just the amount of salvage I had at the beginning of each round. And then the only other thing I needed to keep track of was the amount of salvage that I was spending per game. These 3 columns in here are all calculated. Obviously, by looking at my running total, I can calculate the amount of increase in salvage we got. Of course, I would have to factor in all of the things that I did spend salvage on. And I did notice, unlike what the blog post said about our bonus salvage being dependent on how many drops we missed during the game, it seems as though it is still running on the Cold War / Black Ops 6 salvage system, where it just gives you a set number of bonus salvage, because throughout all of these games, I was getting the same exact amount of salvage all on these round milestones. But you really don't need to read these charts at all, because at the very end we have our total amount of salvage for all of these games, the suppressor, the non-suppressor games, and lucky for you, you really don't need to look at these charts at all, because I managed to make a really pretty graph. Now these 2 lines are the running total amount of salvage that we've collected, and these colored lines here are the lines required to upgrade our rarity, which again are not reflective of what the blog post said they were. They are still at the Black Ops 6 values. So uncommon is 500, rare is 1,000 more above from that, epic is 2,500 more than that, and legendary is 5,000 more than that. Now, based on my results, that might be intentional and it might not be. Let's take a look. These lines, as I said earlier, these are the average running total. So I averaged all 3 games of my suppressor and not suppressor, and you can see the red line here is the 3 averaged no suppressor games, and then the green line is the 3 averaged suppressor games. So right away, hopefully you can all tell that running a suppressor actually doesn't do anything in Black Ops 7, which is a change that I don't like. I love player agency, I want more attachments that do something, and taking away that suppressor ability, in my opinion, just makes the sandbox a little bit less interesting. Now, of course, it's a beta, that could change, that could just not be finished, they could have not added that implementation yet. Who knows? I don't know that, so I'm gonna say this suppressor change, not good, I wanna see it back. Especially once we start digging into this chart, we can see that we are only able to upgrade to our green rarity at around 6 or 7, sometimes even 8. Moving to our rare rarity, we are pushing well past round 10. That looks to be about round 12 or 13, somewhere in there on average. Going up to epic rarity, this purple line, we are getting there just after round 20, round 21, 22, 23. But the real kicker here is legendary. In Black Ops 7, we are hitting our legendary rarity just after round 30. There was one time I think it got it on round 30, but most of the time it was round 31 to 32. And mind you, that's not including any equipment you buy, ammo mods you put on, or self-revives you have to buy back. That feels like a very long time to upgrade our rarity. Now, in the creator call that we were part of, they did mention that they wanted to elongate this process with the salvage. They wanted this to sort of mirror the Cold War Zombies progression, where in Cold War, it did take about 30 or so rounds in order to upgrade your weapon to legendary. And I gotta say, from my memory, this does really closely mimic that. They pretty much hit the nail on their head, at least for their target, which is exactly why I don't know if we're gonna see these values change, because the blog post actually puts this 500 salvage higher, which would push us even further to the round 32 or 33 where we're getting our legendary rarity. Again, if we don't have any ammo mods and if we don't buy any kill streaks or equipment. And keep in mind, this is just one gun. However, I think that's also the point. Going into Black Ops 7, they openly said they want us to use the mystery box, they want us to buy wall weapons, and they're pushing us to do so by reducing the amount of salvage we get, making it harder to upgrade our rarity, but then making the mystery box more valuable in terms of its rarity. I get legendaries all the time, I get epics all the time out of the mystery box here in Black Ops 7, and so this frustration might just be intentional to push us to use different weapons. But as we discussed in yesterday's video, though, that runs into a problem with the point system being super limited, where players are now being bottlenecked by their points instead of their salvage. But that's a whole different conversation. Now let's put this into perspective here. Let's compare these stats to Black Ops 6. So here's Black Ops 7, and here is Black Ops 6. Once again, we have our suppressor game and our no suppressor game, and look at the world of difference this is. We can get uncommon around round 5, we can get rare at before round 10 most of the time, if not at round 10. We're getting epic at round 15 to 16, 17, 18, as opposed to after round 20, and then legendary is around round 25 or earlier if you have a suppressor. That is 5 rounds sooner at that legendary rarity. Now what this does in terms of weapon damage, we are definitely going to cover in a completely different video. There's lots to talk about here with the weapons, but this is a substantial difference because you'll see even after 35 rounds at the very end mark here, we are still nowhere near even the no suppressor salvage gain from Black Ops 6. And I noticed something as I was testing this, and I made some more graphs. This is the amount of salvage gained per round. So each round I averaged out how many we earned, and Black Ops 7 is the one in red. Actually, yeah, let's do this. Black Ops 6 is going to be in orange, and then Black Ops 7 is going to be in purple. So clearly you can tell orange is much taller than purple, so Black Ops 6 you're gaining a lot more than Black Ops 7, as we saw, but you'll notice the stair stepping in Black Ops 7 is a little bit more gradual. We go from like 1 to 2 drops in the first 5 rounds, and then we get like 150, so that's around 3 or 4 drops in the next 5 to 10 rounds. Once we hit round 14, you'll notice a lot more here in that 300 to 150 to 400 range, and then it gradually steps up again. 350, 400, 500 from rounds 25 to 30, as opposed to Black Ops 6, where you have a little bit before round 10, but once you hit round 14, you are earning a lot of salvage every single round in Black Ops 6, and then it spikes again after round 26, where you're earning nearly 800 on average, 800, 700 salvage per round. And that's all without a suppressor. With the suppressor, Black Ops 7 is obviously still the same here in purple. It's the same stair step because suppressors don't do anything in Black Ops 7. But in Black Ops 6, we're earning like 300 salvage a round early into the game, like around 8 to 10 to 15, and then we're skyrocketing up to 600 a round in the mid-teens, early 20s, and then we're doing like 1,000 salvage on average on round 30, and then like 900, 700 from the late 20s. So yeah, there's a very noticeable difference between these two salvage gains, and it results in about a 5 rounds worth of difference in terms of getting to that legendary. And I just want to say, from my own experience, the progression in terms of weapon damage, in my opinion, was way better in Black Ops 6. What I've noticed here in Black Ops 7 is that I will triple pack-a-punch with my points in the mid to early 20s or late 20s if I decided to buy a perk. And then usually I have to use that triple pack punch gun with an epic rarity for another 5 rounds, which is not bad. It's very fine. It kills just fine. But then when I do get that legendary upgrade, I don't feel the satisfaction of, oh wow, this gun is killing a lot faster now. It's not as noticeable. And that's because the rarity gain is just not as strong of a damage increase as the pack-a-punch is. But it does mean that players are experiencing their final damage increase with a weaker damage increase than triple pack-a-punching. Now that might still be the case with Black Ops 6. You might legendary after your triple pack-a-punch, but the amount of time you're doing that is much shorter. So just on a perception feel basis, I felt like Black Ops 6 was much more satisfying than Black Ops 7. Now thinking about this logically, this was a survival map with not a lot of Easter eggs, and more importantly, no SAM trials or new to Black Ops 7 TED tasks. And those SAM trials and hopefully those TED tasks are going to award us with 400, 300, 500 salvage with every time we complete a task. And as we've seen with Black Ops 6, there are plenty of ways of getting free salvage, whether that's dig piles or boxes or just side quests and Easter eggs. Nearly every single map in Black Ops 6 has some way of getting more salvage, an ether tool, or something that can help you through your progression. Even here on Farm Survival, we have Chompy, and with Chompy, I am able to get a legendary upgrade easily before Black Ops 6. In the early 20s, late 20s, it's about that same time either way. And so yes, if we're just playing the game vanilla with nothing else, this is a pretty long progression. But this could also mean that this really incentivizes all of those side quests and Easter eggs that give you salvage, give you ether tools, and hopefully it pushes you into doing those TED tasks, because I think those are really fun and a great way to get players engaged with the moment-to-moment gameplay. But of course, we have to point out, not everybody is going to want to do those side quests. Not everybody's going to want to do those TED tasks. And on top of that, people might want to buy a couple ammo mods. People might want to buy some equipment or grenades or kill streaks. People might go down and need to buy a self-revive, which would then skyrocket their salvage gain and their progression all the way into the the 30s, which, you know, in Black Ops 7, the 30s really aren't that bad, especially with how beautiful the high round balance is in Black Ops 7. It's so good. But I do really worry that this salvage nerf might have been too strong. I personally thought it was perfect in Black Ops 6. Players could get really ahead with Easter eggs, but if you didn't, then you still had a very satisfying progression. The salvage progression, at least vanilla, no Easter eggs, no side quest here in Black Ops 7, is leaning a little bit more on the frustrating side. Now, if suppressors were a lot more powerful, if they did something, maybe my tune would change, because then it would be like, oh, if you really want salvage, take a suppressor. But because they don't do anything in this current build, I really can't speak on that. So let's recap. First and foremost, suppressors do not change your salvage gain in Black Ops 7, at least in the beta. Secondly, yes, the salvage gain was heavily nerfed since Black Ops 6. In Black Ops 6, you would usually get your bare minimum amount of salvage to get your legendary rarity from about rounds 23 to 26. But now here in Black Ops 7, at least vanilla, no side quests, no Easter eggs, no nothing, you're gonna have your bare minimum requirement for salvage for legendary after round 30. And because all of these changes are a little bit different than what we were told in the blog post, I'm not entirely sure what's intended or what they're experimenting with. But what I do know is that they are taking our feedback into consideration. So leave your feedback in the comments section. And if you want to know some secret strategies to gaining more salvage and maintaining more points, check out this video and stay beautiful.